When my parents died in a tragic accident, I thought my Aunt Teresa would be the one to comfort me. Little did I know, her offer to take me in was nothing but a calculated move to control everything I had left. My name is Emily Mitchell, and this is the story of how my life fell apart because I trusted the one person I thought would always have my back, my aunt. But instead of shelter, love, and protection, she gave me manipulation, betrayal, and the darkest twist of all, greed. It was a cold, gray Tuesday when I received the call that would change my life forever. I had just finished a morning lecture at the university and was walking back to my dorm when my phone rang. I saw my Uncle John's name flashing across the screen, and I knew something wasn't right. My heart skipped a beat, and instinctively I slowed my steps, not yet knowing what awaited me. "Emily, sweetie, your parents." His voice cracked. For a moment, I thought I misheard him. "They're gone," he continued. "There was an accident." I stopped in my tracks. My knees buckled as the words sank in, but I couldn't comprehend what he was saying. My parents, gone. I felt like the ground had been ripped from beneath me, and I was falling into an abyss. My mind raced, but no thoughts came. Only one thing lingered, a deafening silence in my head. I tried to respond, but my voice didn't come out. I could hear Uncle John trying to explain, but I couldn't process the details. The reality of it was too much. By the time I got back to the dorm, everything was a blur. The world moved around me as though I were watching it from underwater, disconnected from the chaos that surrounded me. I barely packed my things before booking a flight back home. It didn't matter what the situation was. I had to go back. I had to be with family, even if I didn't fully understand how to cope with this devastation. The funeral was held just days later, and though my mind was numb, I dutifully went through the motions of grieving. The church was packed with people, but no one felt like they really knew me. I barely recognized anyone, except for distant relatives who only ever seemed to appear for occasions like these. They offered their condolences in the most robotic ways, repeating tired phrases like, "They're in a better place now," or "Stay strong, Emily." But none of it felt real to me. It was all just words, empty words. Teresa, my mother's sister, arrived late, just like always. When she stepped into the church, she stood out in a way that made me cringe. Her hair was freshly styled, and her outfit screamed wealth-tailored designer pieces that looked both expensive and ostentatious. She seemed like a different person than the woman I'd remembered from my childhood, where my mother had been humble and warm. Teresa exuded an air of superiority. Even the way she walked suggested that she believed herself above the rest of us. It was as if she were playing a role, and I didn't like it. The only time I saw any genuine emotion from her was when she hugged me. She said something that almost sounded compassionate. "I'm so sorry, Emily. I'll take care of you now." I didn't understand it then, but I would later realize that her words were a calculated move in her plan to gain control of me and my inheritance. After the funeral, Teresa made her move. She approached me quietly, away from the other mourners. "Sweetheart, you don't have to be alone in all of this," she said. "I know this is a hard time, and I can help you through it. You're welcome to stay with me for as long as you need. I want to make sure you're okay." At that moment, the grief made it hard to think straight. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't bear the thought of staying in the empty house that had once been filled with the warmth of my parents. I felt adrift, alone in the world. Teresa seemed like the logical choice. After all, she was family, wasn't she? So, I agreed. She took me to her home, a sprawling mansion on the outskirts of town. I had never seen her house before, and when I walked inside, it was like stepping into a different world. The walls were lined with expensive artwork, and the floors gleamed with marble tiles. The house felt cold, even though it was beautifully furnished. The whole place was immaculate and sterile nothing, like the cozy lived-in feel of my parents' home. I noticed that there were no personal touches, no photographs of family, no messes left behind by the everyday life of a family. It felt more like a showroom than a home. But Teresa was sweet to me, or so I thought. She'd make sure I ate, pushed me to attend therapy sessions, and kept my schedule filled with appointments and activities to keep my mind off the loss. For the first time in weeks, I didn't feel completely consumed by the grief, though I also didn't feel like I was truly healing. There was something off about the way Teresa hovered over me, constantly offering advice and insisting that I follow her rules. But I didn't question it. I was too lost in the fog of my emotions. When I was with Teresa, I felt like I was being cared for, even if it was suffocating at times. I wanted to believe that she was just being helpful. I needed to believe that. A few weeks into living with her, Teresa made it clear that she was taking care of more than just my emotional well-being. Over dinner one evening, she casually dropped the bombshell that would haunt me for months. "Emily," she said, "your parents left you something important. A fortune really, but you'll need to be careful with it. People can take advantage of you, and I don't want that to happen." The way she said it, as if it were an afterthought, made me uneasy. But I didn't want to seem ungrateful or suspicious, especially after all she had done for me. I assumed that it was just part of the grieving process, and maybe I didn't fully understand the gravity of the situation. Teresa had always been the more successful of my parents, siblings at least. That was what I had always heard. She lived in the big house, drove the expensive car, and never seemed to have any worries. It made sense that she'd be the one to take care of me through this. After all, what did I know about finances or inheritance? But her sudden focus on the money made me uncomfortable. I had no idea what my parents had left me, but the fact that Teresa was already talking about it with such authority felt strange. It was as though the inheritance was the only thing that mattered. I wasn't sure if she was looking out for me or simply trying to stake her claim. I didn't know it then, but Teresa's true intentions were already taking shape. She wasn't here to help me through my grief. She was here to ensure she would have control over what was mine. The weeks after, I moved into Teresa's house where a haze of grief and confusion. Teresa was persistent in her efforts to help me, but with each passing day, I began to feel like a pawn in her game. She didn't just help me with my emotional recovery, she inserted herself into every aspect of my life. At first, I didn't mind. She took me shopping for new clothes, even though I never asked for them. She'd insist on driving me everywhere and telling me how I should spend my time. But it wasn't just kindness. There was a sense of ownership in everything she did. I started to notice that she was always in control, always dictating what I did and when I did it. I couldn't make a decision without her input, and her advice became more like orders than suggestions. "You need to stay busy," she would say, filling my calendar with appointments and social events. "You can't just sit around, Emily. You need to get out there and live." That's what your parents would have wanted. It was hard to argue with her. After all, she was right in a way. Didn't want to stay in my room, lost in my own sorrow. But her idea of helping me felt more like controlling me. I didn't have the energy to fight it, and the more I resisted, the more she pushed. Then came the first time she mentioned the lawyer. "I've been talking to Mr. Hartman," she said one evening, as we sipped tea in her grand living room. "He's a family lawyer, and he's been handling your parents' estate. You should meet him so you understand the process. It's going to be overwhelming if you don't have someone to guide you." I didn't understand the need for a lawyer yet. My parents had never really discussed finances with me, so I didn't know what to expect. But Teresa assured me that it was for my protection, that I couldn't afford to make any mistakes during this complicated time. That evening, she arranged for me to meet Mr. Hartman. He was a sharp-dressed man in his 50s with an air of authority about him. He had a confident smile and a professional demeanor, but there was something unsettling about the way he looked at me. He didn't seem concerned with my well-being. It was almost like I was just another case for him. The meeting lasted for hours. Mr. Hartman explained everything in a way that went over my head. I felt out of place, like I didn't belong in this world of legal jargon and paperwork. But Teresa was there, sitting by my side, guiding me through it. Every time I seemed unsure, she would give me a reassuring smile, telling me to trust her, and I did. I had no reason not to, but then, a few days later, she mentioned something that made my blood run cold. "I've been reviewing your parents' will," she said casually one evening. "There's a portion of it that's complicated. I think we need to make sure we're all on the same page. The last thing you need right now is any surprises." I didn't know what she was talking about. "What do you mean, complicated?" She waved it off with a dismissive gesture. "It's nothing to worry about, sweetie, just a small issue. We'll handle it. You'll see, just trust me." But I didn't trust her. Not fully. That uneasy feeling inside me started to grow, but I didn't know how to confront it. Teresa was always so sweet and caring, always saying the right things. She convinced me that she was the one who had my best interests at heart, even as I began to notice that she was growing more involved in my financial decisions than I was comfortable with. Then came the day I first saw her true nature. It happened on a Friday evening. I was in my room sitting at the desk with a pile of textbooks in front of me, when I heard Teresa on the phone in the next room. Her voice was low, but I could hear every word clearly. It was a conversation I shouldn't have overheard, but I'm glad I did. "I've got her right where I want her," she said, her voice smooth, calculated. "Once I've got the rest of the inheritance sorted, she'll be completely dependent on me. She won't have a choice." I froze. My stomach twisted and my heart skipped a beat. I didn't know what to do. Should I confront her? Should I demand an explanation? My mind raced as I tried to make sense of what I had just heard. For a moment, I just stood there, too stunned to move. And then the anger hit me. It was like a wave of fire rushing through my veins. How could the person I had trusted more than anyone else betray me so thoroughly? I couldn't believe it. The woman who had promised to take care of me was the same one who was planning to control my inheritance and my life. I waited until she hung up the phone, then stormed into the living room, my fists clenched. "What was that?" I demanded, my voice shaking with fury. Teresa looked up, feigning innocence. "What are you talking about?" "Don't play dumb with me," I snapped. "I heard you. I heard everything." Her face faltered for a split second before she regained her composure. "Emily, you don't understand. This is for your own good." I was shaking now, tears welling up in my eyes for my own good. "You've been manipulating me this entire time. All you care about is the money." Her eyes hardened. "You don't know what you're talking about. I've been looking out for you. You wouldn't survive without me." I didn't have words for what I was feeling: betrayed, hurt, disgusted, ... But one thing was certain. I wasn't going to let her get away with this. Not after everything she had done. The next few days were a blur of emotions. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't think straight. The anger I felt toward Teresa only grew with each passing hour. I knew she had been lying to me, manipulating me, but I didn't know how deep her deception went. One night, unable to take the stress any longer, I decided to search her office. I had to know everything. I had to see the truth with my own eyes. I rifled through her drawers, her files, until I found it, a key to a safe deposit box. My heart pounded as I stared at it. This was it. This was the key to uncovering the extent of her betrayal. The next morning I went to the bank, my hands trembling. I opened the safe deposit box with the key Teresa had so carelessly left behind. And when I saw what was inside, my world shattered once again. Documents, piles of them. And as I scanned through them, I found what I had been dreading. Evidence that Teresa had been siphoning money from my inheritance for months. She had forged signatures, altered documents, and moved large sums of money into secret accounts under her control. I had the proof, with the documents in hand. I took the next step. I contacted my parents' lawyer and started the process of reclaiming what was rightfully mine. But Teresa wasn't going to let go that easily. When I confronted her, she tried to deny everything. But I wasn't afraid anymore. "I'm taking everything back," I said, my voice steady. "The money, the house, everything. You won't get away with this." The look on her face was one I'll never forget. The woman who had always been so poised, so sure of herself, was suddenly desperate. "You'll regret this, Emily. You'll never be able to prove anything." But I did prove it. I had the documents, and I had the law on my side. In the end, I won. Teresa was arrested, and my inheritance was returned to me. But the price of it was heavy. The emotional scars left by the betrayal lingered long after the court case ended. Teresa's actions had nearly destroyed me, but I refused to let her win. Trust, when broken, is one of the hardest wounds to heal. Sometimes, the people you least expect can betray you for their own gain. But even when it feels like you've lost everything, your strength and resilience can help you rebuild. Never underestimate the power of truth and the importance of standing up for yourself. If you found this story shocking, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and share it with someone who needs to hear the truth about betrayal. You never know when someone might be facing a similar situation.